Hello, my name is Jo. I am a dual trainee in anaesthetics and intensive care medicine, and I will be doing the final session in this series to highlight some differences from anaesthetics when using the LLP for ICM. There are more similarities than there are differences, so if you are an ICM trainee, the rest of the videos in this series are applicable to you, and I do recommend reviewing them if you haven't already. First of all, similar to anaesthetics, if you are first joining the ICM training program, you should receive an email from the faculty to register for the LLP. If you are already on the LLP platform, for example, if you did core or ACCS anaesthetics, you may need to email the faculty to get ICM added to your existing account rather than getting a new one. There isn't a dummy ICM account, so I will be demonstrating using my own portfolio. Once you have access to the FICM LLP, this is what you'll see. There is the landing page. At the top, there are two tabs. The learning one is for anaesthetics, and the FICM one is unsurprisingly where we'll find a portfolio for my ICM training. The landing page has a similar layout to anaesthetics. Assessments, reflections, and personal activities are added here. PDPs, MSFs, ESSRs are generated here. Further guidance about these can be found in previous videos, and most of them are very applicable to the ICM LLP. Now I'm going to highlight some differences. First of all, note that there isn't a logbook option in the FICM LLP. Most ICM trainees maintain their logbooks using a spreadsheet, either generated themselves, or there are some really good templates generated by others which are easily available on the internet. Some of the commonly used ones I will reference at the end of this video through a QR code. The Faculty of Intensive Care Medicine are currently supportive of using externally generated logbooks as of 2023. Also note that there is a multi-source feedback for the FICM LLP, but there isn't a MTR, multi-trainer report. In ICM training, the equivalent is called the multi-consultant report, which is generated on a Word video, which is available on the FICM website. And I will reference to that at the end of the video. And I have an example here. And this is a preview of what the multiple consultant report form looks like. As things stand in 2023, you need to complete one MCR placement that you do. Coming back to the portfolio, for dual trainees, a fair amount of effort is needed to maintain your portfolios for both training programs. For anaesthetic dual trainees, there is the option to duplicate most forms and assessments that count towards both training programs. Unfortunately, this isn't so straightforward for emergency medicine and medical trainees. But coming back to the LLP, for example, when you add a placement, you can duplicate it so that it shows up on both ICM and anaesthetic portfolios, as I will demonstrate here. You would add a placement just as you do for an anaesthetic portfolio, and I'm going to fill in these details in real life for my next placement. Shout out to Dr. Smith, my supervisor. And then you fill in the dates for your next placement. And if you try to fill in dates that overlap with existing placements, the LLP will flag up and will not allow you to do that. I think that's the right dates. And you'll notice that once you save the placement, it should come up with an option for you to duplicate the form. So this is the newest placement that I've just added in Leicester Royal Infirmary, and there is an option here to replicate for RCOA. And it brings the same form up. This time the colour has gone purple. It's back to my anaesthetics portfolio, and it's pulled through some, but you'll note not all of the details, so there is some repetition to be done. So I'll just fill in my supervisor again. The dates have pulled through, and then you save placement. And now the placement is on my anesthetics portfolio, and it highlights that it is also replicated on my ICM portfolio. As well as placements, when you do assessments on the LLP, you can link a single assessment to both ICM and anesthetic curriculum. And I will show you how to do this using an example of anesthetizing someone in interventional radiology, for example. So if we choose an assessor, I'm going to trouble my supervisor, Dr. Smith, again. So under learning outcomes is where you make sure that you link your assessment to both curriculum. As you scroll down, for me, the option comes up to link to both ICM and to anesthetic curriculum items. So if I start with ICM stage 3, I can link this to a relevant curriculum item. For example, I stabilized a critically unwell patient in interventional radiology. So I've linked one high-low. And if I go back to the curriculum to link other relevant curriculum items, for example, for stage 3 anesthetics, this might be relevant to something under general anesthesia, where there is an option about anesthetizing in remote sites. Once I've done that, I can return to the assessment. And we can see here now that we are linked to both ICM high-low, resuscitation, stabilization and transfer, and we're linked to an anesthetic, general anesthesia key capability as well. And then you would fill in your assessment as you usually would. I anesthetized case in interventional radiology. It went well. And then you would send for approval as you usually would. For ED and medicine trainees, because the portfolios are on different platforms, you will need to download PDFs of any assessments that you do and upload it to your alternative platform. Assessments done on your alternative platforms can be uploaded to LLP as a personal activity and then linked to the curriculum that way. And more information about how to upload personal activities are covered in session 3. Coming back to the landing page, a note about personal activities compared to assessments. Now, while you can generate an assessment and link a single assessment to both anesthetics and ICM curriculum items, you can't do this with personal activities or any documents that you upload to them. Instead, you have to duplicate the form, re-upload any attachments, and then link it to curriculum items that way. And I'll demonstrate this using the example of uploading an ALS certificate. So we've generated a personal activity. Let's call this demonstration of leadership. Say I did this yesterday. So under ICM, we link it to a relevant learning outcome. Now you'll notice here that there is no option to link to both ICM and anesthetics curriculum items, only ICM comes up here. So choose a relevant ICM learning outcome. Let's just say resuscitation, stabilization and transfers. We'll link it to that. Let's go back to the assessment. You can link to other ICM learning outcomes if you wish. And let's say we add the supporting document. So now we've uploaded our certificate, add to activity. And then there is an option at the bottom to replicate the form for ICM. So you tick that box, save the changes and return to dashboard. And then the next window, it will open up a new window and it gives you the duplicated form but on the anaesthetics portfolio. And you will see that some details have come through, but there are no linked key capabilities and your document isn't there either. So you do need to edit the activity link it to a relevant anaesthetics key capability, in this case, resuscitation and transfer. Go back to your assessment. And yes, you do need to re-upload the document as well. Add to activity. And save. And only now have you added your ALS certificate to both the FICM and the anaesthetics portfolio. Fortunately, you'll be pleased to hear that PDPs, supervisor meetings, and ESSR generation is very similar, if not identical, to the anaesthetic curriculum. Just a friendly reminder while I'm here to check the dates of everything that you upload and make sure that it is within the time frame that you want your ESSR to cover, so that it is linked when you do generate your ESSR. And also a note that for every ARCP, you will need to generate an ESSR for both anaesthetics and ICM or your other relevant speciality. Finally, here are some links to the various resources for the ICM portfolio, including the recommended logbooks that I mentioned earlier, the documents and guidance for using the multiple consultant reports, which are relevant in 2023, and also some useful guides made by the faculty themselves for using the LLP. Thank you for your time. I hope that you have found this session and indeed this series useful. Please take a moment to complete some feedback so that we can improve our resources in the future.